Let me start by saying that Outer Wilds is a phenomenal game, and if you haven't yet played it, then you're doing a disservice to yourself. That being said, due to the game's nature, it can only ever be played once. So things I say and even the footage in the background will contain spoilers. I have trouble getting fascinated by things. That doesn't mean I don't find many things enjoyable, but it is difficult for something to stay in my mind for me to still give it active thought more than half a year later. But that's exactly what happened with this calm game about exploration and imminent death. I picked up Outer Wilds in October of last year because I had heard good things about it, and well, I loved it from the beginning. The visuals, the sound, all the different things I could do, and of course, the moment of discovery. When you need just that one piece to fall in place, and it finally does. Nothing could change how that felt. There are, of course, people out there who know a lot more than I do about game design, so the thing I want to focus on is something very personal to me. My rediscovery of my sense of wonder. Imagine your first time taking flight in the eclectic looking spaceship. What did you feel? I, personally, felt awe. The sheer size of the solar system means that I wouldn't be able to discover and see much of it now, or probably even hours into my playthrough. But in a way, knowing that was what kept me going. Let me bring you an example. On Brittle Hollow is this tower that you might encounter quite early into your playthrough, that I couldn't really figure out my first few times around. I tried to fly up, ram it with my ship, and so much more. All thoughts that in the end led nowhere. It wasn't until I also visited several other places throughout the system that I started to realize what I had to do. And as such, even something small like getting into that tower felt like I had accomplished something. Like I was starting to figure out the mysteries of the game. Oh, how wrong I was at the time. I feel like everyone makes up their own theories about why the events of the game are transpiring in the way they do. Why are you stuck in a loop? What happened to the people who left the writings, and why does it seem that the sun is dying on you? Asking myself these questions and many more while playing had me making my own theories as well. Tens if not hundreds by the end of the playthrough. But what matters most in this scenario is not the questions, but rather the fact that many of my questions hadn't been answered. This was in no way the game's fault, but rather mine. It seems that in my rush to get answers to every question there was, I instead gathered less from my surroundings. Something, as such, tends to cause frustration, and even though there were definitely points where I got stuck or frustrated, I don't believe any of this contributed to me liking Outer Wilds any less, and if anything, I liked it more because of it. It gave me ample time to think over the game and all my theories, seeing what else I could have missed, and even then, after I had finished playing, I was still trying to get a loose threads that I never bothered to complete, figuring out why things were as they happened to be. I believe that, even now, there are entries in my onboard computer marked as incomplete, because I never got around to figuring out everything there was. For example, it took me an additional month after finishing the game before I realized what really happened with the people who came before your character. This only goes to further prove my next point. How do you replay a game that is built entirely on the idea that you don't know what to do? You watch someone else play it. About 2 months after I had finished the game, the urge to relive this adventure came over me, so I encouraged my partner to give it a try. And throughout the entire playthrough, I kept going, wow, I had no idea you could do that. And as such, even watching someone else play felt new and fascinating. Even though there are a lot of the same discoveries in each person's attempt, every once in a while someone finds a new thing that makes you fall in love with the game all over again. And I think that's why I still find my playthrough coming back to me. Why I still think about the exploration. Why I still think over the theories and loose threads. Why I still enjoy watching other people play the game for the first time, and why, after all this time, the game still makes me feel awe. Long past my first flight. It's all because Outer Wilds evoked a feeling in me that I can only describe as wonder. The feeling of figuring out something for the first time, actually starting to understand the rules of the world around you, and in some cases, finding ways to bend those rules to better suit you. So, I say again, Outer Wilds is a phenomenal game, and if you haven't yet played it, then you're doing a disservice to yourself. The least we as people should do is wonder a bit more about our worlds and the worlds we care about.